In the 2018-19 season, nearly 500 million people in China watched NBA programming, making the NBA the most popular sports league in the country. According to the Chinese Basketball Association, more than 300 million people in China play basketball. In an international competition, the men's national basketball team won 29 medals and the women's 27 in competitions like the Olympics, Asian Games, and the Asia Cup. The country has also produced basketball legends like Yao Ming. But how did basketball become the most popular sport in China? Basketball's history in China started in 1895, 4 years after the game was invented in Massachusetts by a Canadian. The YMCA introduced the sport to Tianjin after they established the first YMCA in the country. The sport spread quickly around China, and was even an event in the 1910 and 1914 National Games, a major sports competition in China similar to the Olympics. China also competed in the basketball event at the first Far Eastern Championship Games in 1913, where the men's team won silver. In 1935, basketball was declared one of the national sports or pastimes alongside ping pong. China has always been one of the, if not the most populous country in the world, and much of its population lives in urban areas. Here, land is expensive and hard to come by. However, all you need is a little bit of open space, a basket or hoop, and a ball to play basketball, which allows it to become extremely accessible to almost anyone. Basketball courts are often found in places like parks, recreational centers, housing communities, gyms, and schools in China. After all, a half court can fit almost anywhere. In the 1950s, the People's Liberation Army, basically China's army, was encouraged to play basketball to improve teamwork and create unison among peers. Moreover, China's first sport movie in color was a basketball movie. Released in 1957, Nu Lan Hu Zhao, women basketball player number 5, modeled its protagonist after women's national team player Yang Jie. You can actually watch it on YouTube, links in the description. After the Chinese Civil War, China used sports to improve diplomatic relations with countries around the world. Basketball was one of the sports involved in China's ping pong diplomacy of the 1970s. Ping pong diplomacy was basically the process of China and the US exchanging ping pong players and other athletes to improve relations between the countries, as during the Cold War, relationships weren't the best. On August 24, 1979, the Washington Bullets, now called the Washington Wizards, became the first team to be invited to China to participate in 2 exhibition games. Afterwards, NBA exhibition games would continue well into today. Furthermore, in 2002, Shanghai's Yao Ming, standing at 7'6" or 2.29 meters, was drafted by the Houston Rockets. He was the first international player selected as a first overall pick in the draft. He made the NBA All-Star team 8 times, and naturally, he was very popular in China and contributed to the popularity of the sport and NBA in the country. Yao's first game against Shaquille O'Neal in 2003 attracted more than 200 million viewers in China. Today, Yao Ming is the owner of the Shanghai Sharks of the CBA, China's own basketball league. In 1987, the NBA's David Stern made a deal with CCTV, a Chinese state-owned broadcaster, to temporarily give them free broadcasting rights to record games and highlights so that they could be broadcasted for free across China. This was also the time when China's economy was exploding, so people had more leisurely time to follow sports, and players like Michael Jordan were playing, so the NBA was at the right place at the right time. Later on, due to increased popularity, CCTV began broadcasting games live. In 2019, China hosted the FIBA World Cup, and in 2020, 143 million people regularly watched or played basketball in the country. In the 2016-17 NBA season, more than 400 regular season games were shown for free on Tencent. Now, thanks to a $1.5 billion deal, Tencent has exclusive rights to broadcast NBA games through to 2024-25 in China. On Douyin, basically TikTok in China, NBA China has 12.3 million followers, and on Weibo, kind of like Chinese Twitter, the NBA has 44 million followers. In 2015, Tencent, with a market cap of around $400 billion, and the NBA struck a deal to allow WeChat to carry its games and highlights. The NBA also made a deal with Weibo, with more than 400 million active users, to show the game highlights, player interviews, photos, and behind-the-scenes events on the platform. The large social media presence of the NBA has contributed to making it easier for Chinese people to become invested in the sport. Furthermore, sports organizations like Nike have built close to 1 million basketball courts in villages, both urban and rural, to spread the game everywhere across China. But despite the sport's popularity, there aren't any basketball leagues for elementary, middle, or high school students in China. There are basketball programs and camps, but they are mostly found in big cities. Thus, kids often just play basketball for fun and have a tough time competing in tournaments to prepare them for playing professionally later on. China has its own basketball league, the Chinese Basketball Association, with 20 teams, and is often seen as one of the best, if not the best, basketball league in Asia. Now, here's something kind of hard to explain, the impact of the slam dunk manga. Honestly, this deserves a video of its own, but it's basically a basketball manga that sold over 170 million copies worldwide, and it was especially popular in East Asia, including China. It got millions of kids interested in the sport and is still often cited as one of the best and most sold mangas in history. In 2010, Takehiko Inoue, the author, received a commendation from the Japanese Basketball Association for his services to the sport, and in 2014, Nike even released a pair of Air Jordan 6 Slam Dunk shoes, referencing and drawing inspiration from the manga. The manga single-handedly got millions of people interested in the sport during the 90s, and after that, basketball only continued to explode in popularity in China. It's also worth noting that basketball has been growing in popularity across the world, not just in China, for decades, especially among urban youth. Millions of Chinese people may just happen to like the sport, but the reasons listed above have certainly contributed to making basketball the most popular sport in the country. The NBA's business operations in China are worth more than $5 billion and is showing no signs of slowing down. The sport has always been very popular in the country, but until some years ago, ping pong was usually cited as its most popular sport. Despite this, almost everyone can agree that today, China's most popular sport is basketball. Basketball has a bright future, especially in China, and even as a non basketball fan, that's only something that should be celebrated by everyone across the world. And that's the end of the video. I personally am not much of a basketball fan, more into other sports. But yeah, this was still pretty interesting to make. Might do more sports videos like this in the future. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching.